If you want to customize the power delivery of your KTM two-stroke dirt bike, you're going to want to check out the Tusk Power Valve tuning kit. It comes with an adjuster and 3 different springs with different wire diameters to give your engine different characteristics. And you can change these out one at a time to fine tune and customize the power delivery of your engine. Now this kit's really easy to install and it's going to work for a lot of different bikes. So this is going to work for bikes all the way back in the 90s, could be a carbureted bike, or it could be a late model TPI bike. In either case, type in your year, make, and model. Make sure this kit is going to work for you. But with that being said, let's get started. Okay, to get this spring installed, KTM does recommend tipping the bike over about 45 degrees, but we're not going to do that. This is the cover right here for the spring. It's sitting just under your water pump. And this is above the oil height of the transmission. Nothing's going to come out, so we're not tipping the bike over. Next step is to remove it. So you're going to use a 6mm socket. And it is under spring tension, so I'm just going to kind of hold that down as I screw this out. And you always want to start with a clean bike. We obviously don't want any dirt or any debris going down in there. So we've got the 2 screws out. We'll pull the cover off. I could take the spring with it, but I want to show you what this is like. So this actually left the O-ring behind. You want to make sure you keep track of that. So the O-ring's sitting right here. Then we'll remove the springs. There's actually 2 springs in here and a spring retainer. So we need to remove that spring retainer. That contains or has the removable or replaceable spring on it. You can see this one's yellow. So yellow is the standard spring. It's going to give you good performance all around. And most bikes will have this in it, but if you bought a used bike, you may have something else in there. That's why the kit comes with all 3 springs. So once you get that popped off, now we need to choose which spring we're reinstalling on the retainer. All these springs from Tusk, they are OEM equivalent springs. So if you see the different colors in your owner's manual, these are going to relate exactly to those. And you're going to notice a huge difference when you change these springs out. And I recommend trying each of them once just to see how they feel back to back, especially since it only takes a minute to change these out. Let's talk about the green spring first. So this is the thickest wire diameter. It's going to give you the most mellow or linear power band. So if you're newer to riding 2-strokes, this is a great one to go with, or maybe you're in slick conditions and you don't want that rear tire to break free. You could try using that spring. Next, the yellow spring. Again, this is the same as the spring that comes stock, and it's going to give good overall performance. Now moving on to the red spring. This is going to give you the most aggressive feel, and most people buying this kit are going to install this spring right here. It is the most aggressive spring. It's going to give you that snappy throttle response, and the power valve is going to open the quickest with this one. Now, if you want to know more information about these springs, you can look at your owner's manual, and it even tells you the RPMs, or some manuals will tell you the RPMs where the power valve opens up with each one. So that's kind of cool. And with that being said, I do want to give you guys some quick theory on how all of this stuff works. So you have the big spring, and this is going to correlate to your adjustment on the cover. So that Robinson head adjuster is going to determine how much preload is on this big spring. The preload determines the RPM when the power valve starts to open up. So it has to overcome that initial force of the big spring. Once this starts to compress, it's eventually this auxiliary spring is eventually going to add to that stiffness, and you'll start to compress that down. So once that power valve is opening up, that's why the wire diameter of these auxiliary springs determine how quickly the power valve opens once it's already moving. But with that being said, we're going to install the red one. So we'll put it on that retainer. Clips on like that. Going back into the big spring. Before I put this all together, I want to make sure the O-ring's in good condition. I'm going to clean that off too. Make sure we get a good seal. So make sure you wipe down your cover. Wipe down the sealing surface. And then we're going to take the spring assembly. If we look right down in here, there's a little tab and it needs to line up with this retainer. So I'm actually going to start by installing this straight up and down, hit the tab, and then I'll rotate it into place, and I can feel that right when it locks in there. And we'll tighten down the bolts. Depending on the bike, these are only 3 to 4.4 foot-pounds, so just as soon as they're snug, good to go. Now that we have everything back together, you can just go ride the bike, but if you do want to adjust your preload, what you're going to want to do is make a mark, and that way we have something to go back to. And all you're going to do is take your adjuster. You can turn this a quarter turn to a half turn at a time, and that's going to make a big difference. I recommend going and riding it before you make any adjustment from there. Most people are running this Robertson head screw adjuster either flush with this cover, or you can go up to 3 turns in max. If you go too far, eventually this is going to pop out. Your O-ring probably isn't going to seal anymore. You're going to get oil leaking out of there. And if you ever get lost in these adjustments, one thing you can do is check out your manual and check out the specs. So on our bike, it recommends running this adjuster between 2.7 and 2.9 millimeters in from this flush surface. But other bikes, they're going to give you a measurement with RPM. So you're going to get a tachometer, you're going to remove a power valve cover, rev the bike up, see when your power valve starts to open up, and then make your adjustments from there. So that's it for the Tusk Power Valve tuning kit. Don't be afraid to change out those springs when you want to. If you're in different conditions from one week to the next, try different springs, see how it feels. Take this adjuster with you out on the trails. It makes a huge difference. Again, just quarter, half turn at a time. Now, with that being said, if you need this kit, you can find it on our website. Just click the link in the description below. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments. And if you want to see more helpful content like this, subscribe to our channel. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.